tremendous looking trophy.
Welcome to the number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. My name's Dylan Blight, and joining me, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here. And who's on your shirt?
That's right, Sir Daniel Fortescue. Let's jump into the trophy cabinet, Ashley Hobley. Don't ask me any fucking questions. Don't make any fucking jokes. Just shut up and sit there. We're in the trophy cabinet. We got a bronze trophy for The Last of Us attempt to hit its release date. Silver trophy for the Persona 5 spin-off being a sequel instead. Gold trophy for Death Stranding. Conan's in it. Holy fuck. And platinum. MediEvil.
Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Shut up. I'm going to attempt to talk about MediEvil. If you're playing at home, if you hear or if you're watching a video, see how many times that Ash's eyes make jokes. Ash's rolls into his own skeleton. Whatever Ash does over here is he's like Sir Donny Doopy Doo or Sonny Doopy.
Don Fortescue.
Sir Don.
It's established.
Sir Jonathon Fortescue. I have a review up on the website.
Please send your Don Fortescue fan art, please.
It's fucking you and Kieran on top of just your bodies mushed together. That's what Sir Donny's Fortescue looks like. Put a review up on the website, gave it an 8.5. This is, of course, a remake of the 1990, what was it, 8? 7. It's either 7 or 8, I can't remember. Game on the PS1. So this is the thing I want to say. They call this a remake, but we also call like Final Fantasy 7 a remake, and then Resident Evil 2 is a remake.
Yep.
And then the Crash Bandicoot games are remakes, and the Spyro games are remakes. But like this and Spyro and Crash are like over here in like one section, and then you got like Final Fantasy and Resident Evil over in a different section, but they're all called remakes. However,
yeah,
I would call
this is a American Psycho remake.
Yes.
Where those are
proper
Ghostbusters remakes.
Yes. Well,
probably should have picked a less divisive.
No, I don't think that works either. But it's like, yes, these American Psycho kind of works, but the Ghostbusters thing doesn't really work.
It's Spider-Man Far From Home. No, that's a reboot. I can't think of a good remake off the top of my head.
It's hard. The point being that MediEvil is a remake that's much like Spyro and Crash in that it's just the exact same game from PS1, and if you liked it, you'll really enjoy it. But of course, the fault for any of these remakes, and I think this is the same for Crash and Spyro, Crash Team Racing, is there anything else like? No. All of them are just, they play the same. So it's like they play like PS1 games. The boss battles aren't suddenly mechanically more interesting. The camera isn't suddenly completely overhauled. The combat system isn't changed. So it's like if you don't want to play a PS1 game, you're playing a PS1 game. You go play the Crash Bandicoot collection, you're playing a PS1 game. You go play the Spyro collection, you're playing a PS1 game. Same story here. But as someone who, of course, as many times as when they announced this, being hyped for it because I love playing MediEvil as a kid. I gave it an 8.5 in my review on the website, and I said slaying monsters, fighting huge bosses, collecting the secret shells in each level, and making my way to Zarek. I happily did all of this and got the game's platinum in one sitting because MediEvil is as much fun today as it was when I was a kid. Of the Ocean, MediEvil has recreated one of the greatest PS1 games with great love and care, and with the budget price this game it's selling at, I hope fans pick it up and we can get a remake of MediEvil 2 from the same team because I want to kick Lord Peltiethorn's ass in 4K. So it's the exact same game. It looks really good. I think it's also like gameplay wise aside, because the gameplay is very PS1-y. It's like you just mash a button, you sword. It's like the combat is simply try not to get hit while being able to spam weapons faster, or like quickly switch to your bow and arrow. You get a ridiculous assortment of weapons in these games, and there's a ridiculous assortment of enemy types as well for a PS1 game. But I think that the thing that makes it most interesting and kind of work well as an upgraded PS4 game is that because it has such a unique art style and had such a unique art style even back on PS1, it's like the technology's finally being able to fully realize the way they wanted the game to look like back in the day, because it was heavily inspired by like gothic type Tim Burton Nightmare Before Christmas stuff basically. So and it's like instead of having these 4:3 image, they've of course, had to expand the scope into a 4K image, and you've got all this nice scenery that's extended or creepy scenery, I guess, depending on where you are in the game. The music's still great. They've done an interesting thing where they only revoice Dan, even though Dan doesn't have many lines in the game because he just mumbles and goes, "Oh, so you," and then they've just kept the same voice actors from the original game and like I guess slightly fixed up the audio and then like brought it over. So whatever. Yeah, if you love MediEvil like I do, I think it's an absolute must play. I'd enjoy playing it. Absolute great time, and I'd happily go play MediEvil 2 if they would like to do that. Because that was, of course, the weird thing about this. It's like when they announced they did Crash, they're like, we'll do all 3 Crashes. When they announced that, when they did Spyro, they're like, we'll do all 3 Spyros. MediEvil, they're like, we'll just do one. We won't do both. We'll just do one of them. So that was a bit weird, but
one is enough.
Number 2 is
it is.
Number 2 is cooler because it has more characters. Number 2's here's the setup for number 2 because number 1's like set in I don't know what year, like fucking 1500, 1600, 1800, some you know, like ages and ages ago. Number 2 is set in like modern day-ish, or yeah, I think it was modern day at the time for a race, I guess. Yeah, Britain. It's like Dan's crypt and whatever else where he's laying got moved to a British museum, and then this evil villain comes in and like brings all this stuff to life in the museum, and then Dan wakes up as well, and then Dan ends up teaming up with a bunch of other people, including like a what would you call it, like a princess that was like locked up in a sarcophagus, like a Egypt thing, whatever you want to call that, like comes together, and that's like his romance interest for the game. And then there's like a couple other human characters and whatever else. The first boss is like this giant skeleton elephant thing, I think it was, or something. It was a giant skeleton, whatever it was, mammoth or something that's inside the museum. Yeah, so that one was cooler because it was like more modern day-ish, and there was more characters that you got to talk to. That was the same as what they did for Spyro and stuff too, back in the PS1. It was always like the first game, it was a very solo adventure, and then suddenly in the second game they'd be like, oh, here's all these like companion characters to have your main character interact with at all points in time. That's MediEvil. I do as well, even though I won't spend too much time talking about it because I've only like halfway through it, but I started Call of Duty last night, and I did a couple hours of it, the campaign, and I did a couple hours of multiplayer. I don't want to like stick in and be like, the campaign is this out of this score and it's this because I'm only halfway. I'll say so far that the things that stand out are it looks really good, like it's really, really good looking. And I guess you could tell that from the trailers. If you've watched any of the Call of Duty Modern Warfare trailers, it's like all the human characters, and they're all human characters. All the characters like are animated and acted really well, and I guess mocap souped and all that sort of stuff. And they're highly detailed, and all the cutscenes look like something out of a movie basically. And then there's absolutely no load times in the game apart from when you die. And even then, they're only like a couple seconds or whatever. But it does like this. If you're not dying, you could play through the entire campaign like seamlessly. Like it'll just go. Like even when you click start campaign, it's like showing you this opening cutscene, and then the cutscene doesn't suddenly go to a loading screen and then like start the mission or something like that. It's seamlessly, you're just suddenly in control of the character. And then when you get to the end of the mission, it just seamlessly transitions to a cutscene and then back in the gameplay, like on, off. So that's really impressive. Looks really good. Audio design, as per usual, I guess, for these sorts of ones, but is really good if you've got good headset or sound bar or sound system or whatever. I really appreciated when I started the game. It's like, hey, and not all games do this if you've got a 4K HDR enabled TV, so it kind of annoys me. It's like, hey, let us manually set the HDR levels so you can actually get the game looking well. Good, thank you. Set all the audio settings you want them to be for your sound system. Good, thank you. I appreciate little things. All the missions though so far have been really short, apart from one, which is weird. It's like 5 to 10 minute missions. They're like really, some of them intense. Most of them are actually quite intense. I'm going to save my final opinion if the game is like, because of course there's that thing about it being a bit too, I don't know if like not graphic, but like with its themes, I guess, you know, like people have been questioning if they're kind of push the buttons too far of the campaign or whatever. I will say that, like, I don't know if I'm at that level, but there've been 2 points so far in the campaign where it's made me like feel something. I don't know how I would explain it. And it's not like it's weird because it's not a like character thing. It's not anything to do with the story. It's simply to do with the setting and like what's happening. So like I know, for example, there was one of the early missions is like this bomb goes off in the middle of like London, and then you've got all these terrorists like literally jumping. You see them like jumping on top of people's cars and just like shooting them and rampaging, and there's just absolute chaos going everywhere, like this massive terrorist attack. And it just seems, because the game looks so well and sounds so good and whatever, and it just seems really realistic. And like even playing through that, there's like a suicide bomber that runs up at one point, and I quickly like dodged out of the way, but then like some woman on the side, civilian, just like kind of blew up, and it's like, this is quite intense to play through. And then I know there was another point that got me, which is when you're doing this like raid for a house, and it's like you're kind of working your way up through this house in like night vision, trying to find the terrorists inside it or whatever. And you get into one room, and there's this like baby crying, this woman like holding it, like saying, don't shoot me, don't shoot me. And then one of your like army dudes is like just pointing a gun on her in case she goes for a weapon or something like that. And then you just hear this baby like constantly like wailing and wailing and wailing, and you go try and continue working your way up the house and stuff. And it's like, oh, this is, I don't know. I found those two things quite intense, I guess, for whatever reason. So, and then there's several points where it's like, there's another one where you're working through this mission, and it's just like dead bodies of what looks like young teenage boys and all sorts of stuff just murdered on the streets of somewhere. It's like, it's very, I find it quite interesting because it's like the campaign and the multiplayer are just kind of at opposite ends of each other. Like the campaign seems like it's trying to be like super serious and tell
serious,
yeah, and tell something like super intense and serious about modern day warfare, literally in the name, of course. And the reason they explained they just rebooted it is because they were like, well, modern warfare's changed in the 10 years since we made the original. And then the multiplayer is like, you got your fucking kill streaks, man, and we've got white phosphorus dropping
cool,
down and
people.
all this other stuff that's quite ridiculous and whatever else. Yeah,
no remorse.
Yeah, it's like it's really weird. The campaign's like, you should feel bad, and like, this is fucked up, and then the multiplayer's like, just go kill like 30 people.
Yeah.
The multiplayer though, because it's of course I played the beta, so I kind of knew what to expect. But gun game still really good. That's the 2v2 intense thing where you just fight to take out the other team. Played that with Mr. Buddy Watson from Dash Culture. Did some rounds of that, and that's the one where you actually have to concentrate the most, because it's like you don't respawn. It's like it's just 2v2, and you got to hit your shots.
You make a mistake and it's all over.
Yeah, it's all over. So that one's quite good. I think that's also probably the one I would say would be the most fun to watch, like really good people play like 2v2 against, like competition wise or something like that. Then we played the Cyber Attack, I think is what it's called. It's like you kind of that one, when you die you're out, but you can be revived. So it's like you don't respawn, but if someone comes up to your body, you can be revived, but that's it. And then if you wipe out the whole enemy team of 6 players, then you'll win, or you take a bomb to their computer thing and you pack it or destroy it or whatever, and you win. And that one's quite good once again, because it's like, if you die, it requires, you can't just run around like a maniac, I guess. It's like, if you die, we can, and I do sometimes, but if you die, you're out. Yeah. We didn't play free for all. Just deathmatch, so whatever. Did play Ground Warfare, which I talked about from the beta as well, which, as I said when I played the beta, is just absolute nonsense. There's fucking shit exploding everywhere. It's literally like Battlefield, but just it's not as good as Battlefield because the maps aren't big enough. It's like it's 32 versus 32, and the maps are big for Call of Duty, but they're not Battlefield big. So then it just leads to like tanks kind of being able to sit at certain points and just go ham and kill people, and the class system and structure isn't set up like Battlefield, so there's not an easy way to counter someone who turns up in a tank, and then people are just kind of camping in spots with as snipers. But unlike Battlefield, there's not like a good way to counteract that either, because it's just the maps are so tiny and stuff, and like Battlefield maps are so much bigger when you play like Conquest or something like that, which this is sort of trying to be, I guess. And it's like, you'll be having ground warfare over here, air warfare over, like they literally have all this stuff going on. But in this, it's like the map is just not big enough. But it is chaos, and there's always just shit exploding everywhere and whatever else. But so far, I'd definitely say that Cyber Attack and the gun game are probably the two best ones. And the campaign, I'll save my final thoughts on until I finished it. But so far, it's fun but short, I guess. I don't know if fun's the right word. I am enjoying playing it. I don't know if I'm having quote unquote fun. All right, so let's jump into some news. Last of Us Part 2 has been delayed a month after revealing the release date for The Last of Us Part 2. The game has been delayed until May 29th, 2020. On the PS blog, Mr. Neil Druckmann himself from Naughty Dog said that they are delaying it. New release dates will allow them to finish everything to their level of satisfaction while also reducing stress on the team. Then this, of course, I went to find the Jason Schreier thing, but I couldn't find it. But he was tweeting out and writing up stuff over at Kotaku on his Twitter page, whatever, basically saying that also to tie into this story that The Last of Us push to May will probably now also lead to Ghost of Tsushima, which is apparently still a PS4 title, now also being pushed to later in the year. But then I'm like, so this is what I don't get. The whole Last of Us delay, whatever. It's weird that they announced it a month ago to give a release date to then just delay it. It's like they waited so long to give the release date. I'm like, what forced them to even bother locking in that date? You know what I mean? Like, and especially weird after, like that God of War thing, right?
And then to delay it 3 months to not realize that you were 3 months off it being ready to release. It seems odd.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was PlayStation pushing for that date for some reason. We want to get it by here. They thought they could, but then, Or it could just be like they were putting stuff together and there was some game-breaking bug that they suddenly popped up that they didn't think they could fix before release. Which
is possible, I guess. But it was just making
game development is hard from what I read.
From what I read, yeah. It was just making me think of that God of War doco thing, like where they have that release date and they were trying to hit that certain release date for I think it was kind of playing into the quarterly, like the end of this quarter type situation, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they ended up having to delay it shortly after they announced it as well because they were having trouble solving certain bugs or whatever it was at the time that they're showing that. And then you could see like Corey was so annoyed about it and whatever else. It's just like, I guess it could be a very similar situation playing it like that where they were they wanted to lock it in to hit whatever certain period of time or whatever. Maybe the whole close to Valentine's Day thing was
yeah, maybe. But yeah, it turned out really terrible for God of War when they delayed that game, so it's not a good sign.
No, yeah, definitely.
Sarcasm.
Yeah. Game delays are always bad. Hashtag sarcasm. Yeah, what do you think of the Ghost of Tsushima thing then? So if this gets pushed to May, because it's like, what would you say the minimum amount of months between Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima could even be?
I guess 6. I mean, technically the minimum could be a week.
Yeah, I know, but
I think they're very different games.
Being realistic,
but
they're not going to put out
marketing wise.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I'd assume they'd probably want to be about 6 months apart, I guess.
Yeah.
Just if they're only going to put out 2 exclusive big AAA releases a year, you'd want them to be a reasonable amount of time apart. But
yeah, so
they've only put out Days Gone this year, so
Concrete Genie?
Actually they got Death Stranding coming out, which I guess is technically their other big AAA release this year, so.
Yeah, so it's then that would be October. Late October.
Yeah.
So, and that would actually...
Which I guess is interesting with where PS5 potentially is.
Yeah, so I actually think that would make sense.
Do you just wait a little bit longer until it's out so you can launch it together, or do you just put it out when it's ready?
I reckon you're close. I reckon you're pretty spot on with the 6 months thing, because that's if they release it October-ish, a month before the PS5 release, then they can just do a whole... Well, here it is on PS4, And here's a better looking
PS5?
PS5. I don't know. Here's the weird thing when we come into PS5 this year, though. Next year. I'm getting ahead of myself. When we get to PS5 next year, instead of doing the whole maybe they'll just release a new version of The Last of Us, a new version of Ghost of Tsushima, and all this sort of stuff, I am wondering how much of that's going to happen because we know that everything is going to be backwards compatible now. You know what I mean? So it's it's a bit different from PS3 to PS4. Will so many games do that? Will that even work marketing wise to push a better looking PS5 version where people are well, I'm happy just to play on my PS4 disc
version on there. Yeah.
So
I mean, unless there's some added things for some reason, I have no idea what it would be like trophy related stuff. Maybe there's a separate trophy list for PS4 and PS5.
Don't know if that would be a big enough reason for most people, but possibly.
Yeah, I mean, that just small things I think will be the deciding thing. I think if it releases early, less people will be inclined to pick it up on PS5. But if it's on a launch day game, then that everyone's going to pick it on PS5 if they're getting a PS5. But I think it might just be a marketing thing as well. You don't want that AAA release to be overshadowed by the launch of the PS5.
Mm.
It's a weird thing to balance out, but
I think I think that Ghost, if Last of Us was releasing February, it would have fit in nicely around that July slot, possibly.
Yeah, probably July, August.
Yeah, which isn't terrible spot, but now it's just got to push it way closer. But then
it's going to be at the end potentially in the end of the year when everything kind of releases. It'll be up against next year's Call of Duties, next year's Battlefield, next year's potentially Assassin's Creed, that kind of stuff. So
yeah, and we currently don't know if. Well, we don't know actually. Assassin's Creed, remember, might be coming out. Might just not be unannounced. It might be coming out in the first 6 months next year.
No,
just saying it could be.
I don't like the odds.
Just say it could be a thing. So that means the next Assassin's Creed would be next gen if it's releasing late next year.
It'll probably be cross-gen, yeah.
Or cross-gen, yeah. Well, I
suppose Black Flag or Syndicate.
Yeah,
one of those two.
Black Flag was, and Syndicate was the one that remained, and then they brought it over last year to PS4 and stuff. It was originally a PS3 only. Weird one, even though Black Flag was cross-gen or whatever.
No, Syndicate was a PS4. You're thinking of Rogue or
Black Flag was on both because I waited to pick it up when I got my PS4.
Yeah,
it released a month.
Syndicate came after.
Yeah, Syndicate was Syndicate was up. Black. What was the one you said? Rogue. Rogue they released the following year for PS3 and 360, while they released Unity, I think, on the current gen consoles.
The buggy one.
Yeah, I think that's some weird thing to happen. But Black Flag was released on PS3, and then a month later or whatever, I just picked it up on. I waited and picked up the PS4 copy instead of just playing it upon release. It was my first PS4 game. Black Flag was. All the ones I picked up. It was the first one I put in and had to play around with, and I was quite impressed with how pretty the water looked. That's all I remember. All right, let's move on to that. So, new Escapist magazine writes, new details have emerged about Persona 5 spin-off, the Persona 5 Scramble. I called it the for some reason. Persona 5 Scramble, the Phantom Strikers. Previously codenamed Persona 5 S Scramble. No, Persona S Scramble, was once assumed to be a Switch port of Persona 5, but the game's debut trailer revealed it actually to be a new Dynasty Warriors-style action game for Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4. However, the game's latest trailer reveals that the upcoming title will be far more robust than the first trailer suggested. The latest trailer depicts Persona 5's Phantom Thieves engaging in not just combat, but exploration of new areas, social events, and even 2D side-scrolling platforming. Players will reportedly be able to swap between characters on the fly rather than playing only as Persona 5 protagonist Joker. Even the main series' time management component makes an appearance. According to the game's official website, Scramble is a direct sequel to vanilla Persona 5 that takes place half a year after events of the main game. The story will find the Phantom Thieves getting together for summer vacation, only to be drawn into a new mystery. Palaces, the bizarre inner worlds, produced by adults, begin popping up again. So the thieves have to go back in action to figure things out. Are you pumped for a Persona 5 2 I guess. Is that what we're going to call it now?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't call it a direct sequel. It's more of a spin-off sequel because obviously it's not the exact same genre. I'm super keen to see what they do. I mean, it looks like it feels like it's weird, more of a mesh of the two genres of Dynasty Warriors and Persona than they've done of any of the Dynasty Warrior crossovers so far. So, because you've got all the different elements and the more of the style than you did with, say, Hyrule Warriors or the the Fire Emblem one they did. So, I'm definitely keen. I'm super happy that P5S is something good and just not a Switch port.
That wouldn't have been good.
Yeah, it would have been fine, but this is way better.
This is more interesting. Yeah, so
I mean, it is more interesting.
It is.
It's not just a port to place to the Switch, which would have been boring. It's a completely new game.
Yeah, I didn't really care about this when they first announced because I'm like, I don't like those. I never liked the look of those Dynasty Warriors, whatever the genre they call them games. But since it's more than that, I guess it's like more intriguing now. But I just thought it was just going to be some button mashy, action game thing without anything that kind of makes Persona. It's like this to me is the Persona 5 sequel that Persona 4 got with dancing. What's it called? All Night?
Dancing
No, not All Night.
At Night.
No, Persona 4 dancing. God damn, it's going to do my head in if I don't quickly. No, we got Persona 4 dancing. Tell me, internet, before we do the show. Dancing. Oh, it was Dancing All Night. Fuck me. I had it and then I was downing myself. But so Persona 4 Dancing All Night, which they put out in the Vita, and then you could get on console now, the new thing. Yeah. That was a dancing game, which if you watch the trailer, you're like, why do I care for a dancing game? I don't care about it. But it was also a sequel to Persona 4. Like it had a full story elements told out through kind of like a visual novel, I guess. Like it was just a lot of talking and reading and blah, 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 blah. But it was like, X amount of months after events of Persona 4, everyone got together again because geez, I'm getting all the Persona characters mixed up now, so I don't want to get it wrong. But the actor girl from Persona, the pop star one, she was like going to do something and then dancing competition or whatever, and then she invites you all along to like team up and go there, and then you're doing a dancing comp, and then of course you get dragged into like the Persona world thing, and you got to fight monsters by dancing and whatever else. So like the gameplay, how it worked into the story was a bit silly, but at the same time it was like story-wise a sequel because it was like set after the events and all this sort of stuff. So I guess this is like a similar thing where it's like the story parts are going to be set post Persona 5, but then the gameplay is just like complete opposite or nothing to do with how the gameplay was in the original game. So that's interesting. It's coming out in Japan on February 20th, 2020, and release date for outside Japan has not yet been revealed for anywhere, but I would expect, I don't know, maybe at the earliest, like late. You know what I mean?
I don't know, because they still haven't announced a release date for the Royal or whatever.
Yeah, they'll probably do them both at the same time. Well, I reckon they'll reveal the release date for both
at the same time.
One event and at the same time.
It might be like a couple of months apart.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be like years, like a year between them or something. But yeah, only a couple of months would make sense. It's like put out the Persona Gold and Doodly S edition or whatever it's called, the Royale with Cheese edition. Put out that and then put this out 3 months later, I guess. Because then it's like if you're getting a new audience from the Royale with Cheese,
because you're getting the voice actors to come back and record stuff, you might as well just go, we'll pay you more, keep doing the same voice for a little while longer.
Yeah, and
do the anime at the same time, please.
Yeah, smash it out.
Just
and
please.
Then I can play the Royale with Cheese and actually finish Persona 5, and then I can play this one.
Well, it won't be the same canon though.
Yeah, but I can delete from my mind. You know what I mean? It's like whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
It's fine. It's like the Persona 4 thing. They didn't have the golden character in the sequel. You know what I mean? Like it's uncanon. It was a sequel to Persona 4, not Persona 4 Golden. I'm just like, I'll just pretend everything that happened with that character doesn't exist in this game. Whatever, it's fine. Next up, IGN. Media Molecule wants games made in Dreams to be published beyond PS4. Media Molecule's Dreams has allowed players to create some pretty amazing games of their own, including Final Fantasy VII Remake, Kaiju Monster Simulator, and even a few Game of Thrones tributes. Now Media Molecule says they want the games you all make in Dreams, which is a PS4 exclusive, to be published on other devices and beyond, according to a report from GameIndustry.biz. Speaking at the View conference in Turin, Italy, Media Molecule co-founder and art director Karim Atoni said that the studio is looking into creating a commercial license for intellectual property created in Dreams suite of game creation tools, saying, quote, the very limited exporting features the moment I like exporting a video, but we have in the long term plans for exporting a standalone game outside of Dreams entirely, exporting to other devices and beyond. Originally, Tony said that there was already a commercial license available, but Media Molecule clarified to GameIndustry.biz in an email that it was just something they were looking into currently. So I don't understand how this works. And this kind of comes back to like talking about if you put 100, 200 hours into making a game in Dreams, it's like you never really own it because it's made in Dreams. It's like it's always going to be the property of Media Molecule, technically, and people have written articles about that, not just to do with Dreams, but also just like any game that's about like user created levels and how it's like kind of uses fans as their own labor, and then they can't like you never own what you actually spend heaps of time making into. But I'm like, so they want to be able to do a thing here where you could create a commercial license for your own IP within Dreams and then export that game somehow. I guess you'd buy it. Would you buy your own game?
I think what they want to do is they want to export these games out of Dreams and be able to transfer it to other platforms.
Yeah, but that's saying that they're like, we'll create a license. But then this is what I'm wondering about. Like, are they just going to let you take? This is the part I don't see happening.
No, there'll be some sort of curation. It won't just be anybody allowed to take anything. I think Dreams will work with whoever they like. This is a cool idea. It needs to be. This should be, take the Kaiju Simulator thing that they've got inside this article.
Mm-hmm.
They go to the creators of that and say, hey, we want to publish this on other platforms, potentially. Or do like a standalone release on PS4. So people don't have to buy Dreams to play it. They go, cool, here's a contract saying we're going to pay you this much. And then we export it and we put it on the PlayStation Store.
So you think they're going to pay creators to buy their games basically so they can publish them separately?
Yep. I would like to believe, based on everything we know about Media Molecule, that it might not be a hell of a lot, but it's something.
Yeah, this is
like
an interesting time.
It's like that Lizzo. Do you see that Lizzo news this week?
No.
No, apparently there's a songwriter who came up with the tweet for the meme for the I'm 100% that bitch. I took a DNA test. I'm 100% that bitch. She tweeted that tweet originally, and now Lizzo is giving her credit for that, the songwriting credit in her song.
What?
Yep.
For a tweet?
Yeah, that inspired the song, the line in the song.
Damn, that's weird world we're living in today. Yeah, I don't know what I think of this because I just don't. Obviously, we don't have the full details, and it's not going to come. It's not going to be starting.
It's not probably
tomorrow.
Another 12 months or anything.
Yeah, it's
the game's not even in full. Really, when I saw the article, I thought that's what it was.
Oh,
the game's coming out fully.
Maybe, no, Dreams is still in early access. Everyone, in case you didn't know. Yeah, I feel like whatever happens, if that's what happens, it's just they're going to be under so much scrutiny. You know, like they come out. Let's say what you're saying is what they do. They're like, hey, we'll give you X amount of dollars, or we will give you a contract that you get X amount % of game sales or something. Then straight away people are just going to be like, well, that's not enough. Like, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Like it's like such a weird thing to be in.
But then it's like, what? Be NDA. We won't know the numbers.
I guess, yeah. And then it's like the opposite way I was looking at it is, what if they say, hey, we will give you a license to buy your game off of Dreams so you can like just publish it and sell it yourself. But then if they start offering like ways to buy your own property, well, not your game, I guess, off Dreams. It's like, hey, pay $200, $100, I don't know, whatever, and you can take your game off Dreams. But then people will start being like, well, they fucking literally created everything. It's your game engine, I guess, is the technical thing.
Yeah.
But then it's like we get into, like, I don't know. At that stage, are we like, well, how much does Unity cost? Or whatever. Like, isn't Unity free? I don't really know. I guess this is interesting time if that's, when we get there.
MediEvil is looking at new revenue streams for Dreams.
Yeah.
And their revenue stream is published games from Dreams.
Potentially.
Or potentially, yeah.
I'll be laughing if 2 years from now we're like, MediEvil is just a publisher of
tiny indie games.
Of indie games made within Dreams. That would be a weird world to live in. But a world that we could possibly live in.
It could, yeah.
Could be happening. So the other thing I want to bring up here is that Jonathon Cooper has left Naughty Dog. So he posted this on his Twitter. I'll explain who he is in just a quick sec. But he said, on Twitter, he wrote, I've decided to part ways with Naughty Dog. I'm thankful to having contributed to the PS4 era of this storied studio, and I wish them luck in their future endeavors. Jonathon Cooper is somewhat of importance there because if you go to his LinkedIn, you can, of course, find out all the stuff he's been doing. But he's basically the lead animator on Uncharted 4, Uncharted Lost Legacy, and The Last of Us Part 2 is his most recent thing that he's done there. And he's also wrote recently a quite well-selling book all about animation in games. So, of course, everyone in the replies, well, not everyone, but a lot of people in the replies are like, is this related to the delay and all this stuff? Which, no, that's not. he would have finished his work, and whatever Naughty Dog's like working on now is not related to him and his animation works. But I do want to bring it up and note it solely because I'm going to be paying very close attention to where he goes next, and just watching, because he's like there are some key people obviously in games where you're like this, they're really good at their specific fields, and you could, like, if they go somewhere, you kind of just want to see what that next game is and what the work they do and like how much it changes or something. But a lot of people in the replies, also the people who weren't suggesting that he left because of the delay and all this sort of stuff, pointed out the fact that it was on his Twitter on October 16th. He posted Twitter and just said Insomniacs, and he was at Insomniac Game Studios. So of course a lot of people are theorizing that he could possibly be going to work at Insomniac. And if he's going over to Insomniac, what would he be working as? What game do we think he would be going to work at Insomniac on? Would it be a thing with a spider on a man thing? Ooh. Possibly. Yeah. So yeah, I just think that's one of those interesting switches that could be potentially happening here. Hopefully he stays within PlayStation though, because prior to all this, he was over at Ubisoft for a bit, and he also worked on BioWare's like Mass Effect stuff or whatever. That's kind of where people, I think he started getting like known more in industries like Mass Effect time. So, but even though you kind of look back and it's like the facial animations aren't amazing, but at the time, I guess, like at the time they were like quite good character animation and stuff in that game. So, yeah, one to track and see where he goes next, I think. Death Stranding story spoilers are reportedly leaking online, writes Jewel Shockers. We've known for about a week that Death Stranding is in the hands of reviewers and influencers around the world, and wouldn't you know it, spoilers for the game have started leaking out. Who could have guessed that would happen? Yes, Kojima Productions' forthcoming release of Death Stranding, which was set to finally drop in 2 weeks, has now has now had many of its narrative details and story beats leaking on certain corners of the internet. New gameplay footage and screenshots have also started emerging, showing everything from new locations in the game to some of the additional celebrity cameos that Kojima previously said would be appearing throughout the experience. So all I want to say is that this is why I'm not going to rant, but I can almost guarantee that the people leaking they're not the people on the media side of that opening paragraph. They're on the side of the influencer side of the paragraph. Because a lot of these fucking people, they sign NDAs, and I've seen it happen in Australia from people who apparently don't understand how NDAs work. Non-disclosure agreement. Don't understand what it means. People are quite happy to break them and do whatever they need to do, especially if they're like, what's the worst that could happen to me? What sort of trouble could I get into? So yeah.
I don't understand why you put it out early if you're not getting credit for it. What's the point?
What do you mean?
Well, why'd you leak it if it's not being directly linked back to you? Because obviously they're doing it in a way that doesn't get them in trouble.
Yeah, they're doing it on Reddit and whatever else through alt things. But then, like, they can be sneaky, a bit from now, I guess. Hey, when everyone forgets, hey, I was the one that leaked the Death Stranding. Well, it's the same as, like, I guess some people, I swear some people just get off on it.
Yeah.
Like, legit. I always think about, like, what sort of mindset people had to have back in the day when, like, the last Harry Potter, like, book details or whatever leaked. And then people lining up for the midnight release, and people in cars were driving past yelling out spoilers and shit. And I'm like, what mindset? Like, you're sitting at home with your buddies, having a few cold ones, and you're like, let us drive out at midnight to a bookstore and yell out spoilers.
Yeah.
That's the sort of mindset.
I do it all the time. All those times that people are lining up outside bookstores in the middle of the night.
I don't think it happens much anymore. Last time I went to a bookstore early to pick something up was when the Cursed Child script book released, and I went in really early in the morning to pick that up, and the bookstore opened early then. And that was years and years ago. And even then, I was like, this is such a novel concept that's happening at the moment, because I'm like, would this ever happen again? I don't think Probably it has. No. I don't think it has.
No, it just preloads on your Kindle.
Yeah, exactly. So don't need to do that.
Don't need to get up early.
No need to get up early. Yeah. So Death Stranding spoilers. Beware, of course. Here's your warning. Also of note, we will have potentially more spoilers, maybe, at the end of the week, because that's when the reviews are going up on. Well, I think November 1st was American, like that was their date or whatever it was. So I guess it could be like early the next day for us or whatever, like timing wise. I don't know exactly what the timing was on it, but I know it was like November 1st, but then I'm going to say that it could be like late November 1st, I guess, or something. You know what I mean? Like it won't be early, if anything. I don't know when the exact timing of it works out, but then I'm going to say once again, I'm not going to read any reviews. Because I just don't want my opinion tainted or whatever. But if you are out there and you do want to read reviews, because spoilers, we're not going to have one. I don't have the game. I would have told you by now. If you do want opinions on it,
maybe you weren't allowed to tell us.
Yeah, imagine that. Because then I wouldn't even make a joke about it, because it'd be like getting too close. If you do want thoughts on the game to know if you should pick it up, and you're going to be reading reviews, all I'm going to say is be careful for this one, because I think, just judging by what the game is and like how weird the story is and all that sort of stuff, that often the way it is with certain review sites and whatever, people just chuck out stuff that they don't consider spoilers because they want to talk about it in the review. But then it's probably a spoiler to some people. You know what I mean? Like I feel like some people push certain plot things into reviews. I'm like, was that in the trailer? No, they probably should have left that one out. But yeah, so either way, at the end of the week, reviews are going up. I'll look at the scores And I'll be like, oh, that's an interesting score. This site gave it a 5. This site gave it a 10. Cool. Can't wait to play the game. And then the last bit of Death Stranding news for this week is that Conan, that's right, the Barbarian, no, Conan O'Brien is in Death Stranding. So this was when Kojima was on, was it an actual show or was it just a segment, like his gaming segment thing he does or whatever? Like Conan
he does do a gaming segment. I don't know if he was on like the full episode.
Yeah.
I doubt it was on the full episode.
It says in a clip upload. Okay, so IGN article here. In a clip uploaded to the Conan YouTube channel, O'Brien can be seen visiting the Kojima Productions offices during a trip to Tokyo. After a brief profile of Death Stranding, Kojima is seen asking O'Brien if he'd like to be in the game. Presumably, this was all arranged in advance in order to make a joke out of it.
No, I don't think it was. It was probably.
Yeah, I think
I think there's a pretty good chance he's like, "Hey, do you want to be in the game? Let's set this up. Set up the mocap.
Let's pull that.
Do the face scan."
Kojima pulls out.
There is a fairly good chance that it was spur of the moment.
I reckon Kojima just pulls out something like some Iron Man level tech out of his pocket and just fucking throws this little thing at the ground and it expands into a giant mocap like capture circle studio thing. He just carries around in his pocket at all point in time.
Then he quickly scribbles down a script.
Yep, got him. Well, I mean,
like,
considering what happens in this video. So commences the bizarre facial capture session. While the clip is humorous in tone, O'Brien really is in the game. He's strange too. As revealed by Kojima in a tweet, O'Brien's character, the Wandering MC, will gift you a sea otter suit when you connect with him. Yes, you can dress Sam up as a sea otter and make him swim in a river like an otter. Just when you thought Death Stranding couldn't get any weirder. And that's right. In the trailer, you'll see O'Brien be like, blah, 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 have this thing. It's a sea otter hat. And then you see Sam put it on, and then you see him in the river doing the rapids like a sea otter. And then there's a close-up of the hat, and it's definitely a sea otter. At times I struggle to take this game seriously, but here we are.
Yep.
You know?
But I tell you what, kind of want that hat.
Sea otter hat, yeah. Oh, it's just, I was like, this is, I guess, the last, or unless, there might be like a launch, I guess there'll be like a launch day trailer or launch week trailer or something that goes up. But I was, for a second, I was like, this is the last like clip, new information before release that we're going to get. And it's a sea otter hat. Not just a hat though. It is an equipment that'll make you swim like a sea otter.
I mean, the implications are really interesting because what this means is there could be a bunch of different animal themed suits that help you through the game. And I'm on board with that idea. Hashtag cuties.
That's not a hashtag cuties. Sea otters aren't cute. They're weird.
What?
No, they're weird.
At tree. Sea otters. Nope.
No. Not allowing it. Sea otters aren't cute. That's not the thing that's happening. Here is your ETC for episode 134. Firstly, let's get into it. Let's talk about MediEvil Trophy Guide. I have a lot of people messaging me on my PSN currently because when the game dropped, I was the second person to have the platinum and everyone keeps messaging me because they reckon a trophy's bugged. The trophy is not bugged. It's a trophy for dying 7 times in the game. The rest of the game's very easy to understand how to get trophies. You beat levels, get all the chalices. Basically, you just 100% the game and you'll beat it, apart from the Lost Souls thing, which I'll get to in a second. But if there's 7 ways to die, it is like, go jump in lava, go jump in water, go drain all your life out in the last level, and these sorts of things, you know, just think about it, right? By the end of the game, you've probably done at least most of them. The one that I had to think about and took me a while to get, and it was the last trophy I got before I got the platinum because I couldn't figure it out, was that in the castle level, the one where it's timing out and then you have to make an escape and you have to fling yourself out of the castle as it's all about to explode. It's like near the end of the game. In that level, there's a timer of like 2 minutes ticking down. Let that timer tick out to 0 and then you will die. And you'll die by failing that, and that's when I got the trophy. That is a way to die. I think that was one of the ways to die that it seems that everyone is basically missing when they're doing the MediEvil. Now, if you're 100% a whole game like you did with the PS1 game, which I did many times, and I had no trouble doing that. I'm like, cool, done. Fly through it. What's left to do here? Lost Souls. What are these Lost Souls? Lost Souls are a new thing they've actually added into this MediEvil 2019 remake, remaster, whatever you want to call it. They are unlocked right near the end of the game. At the entrance hole level, you go down to where Zarok at the start of the game does all these potions and spells and what have you. It'll open up a chest. It'll set all these Lost Souls free. They then spread out pretty much across nearly every level in the game. Like 99%, I think, basically. Not Dan's Crypt and one other level, I think, maybe. When you go to those levels, you have to find the lost soul in the level. When you find the lost soul, you'll talk to it, you'll pick it up, it'll go into your inventory, it'll give you a clue of where you then need to take it. So then you need to take that lost soul to a completely different level, to a certain location. When you get there, prompt will come up to press square, and then you'll set the lost soul free. So you basically have to play the game 3 times, kind of, to get the platinum, which may sound like a lot, but speed running these levels at the end of the game, when you've unlocked all the weapons and you know what to do and you're just going through it, it's pretty easy. The thing that does make it tedious is that for picking up lost souls or returning lost souls to where they need to go, for it to count, you do need to beat the level. You can't get there and then save and quit back to the world map and do it. So that's kind of tedious, kind of annoying. I don't think it's particularly hard to understand where you need to take the lost souls. It's also not particularly hard to find the lost souls. You just kind of scan rooms and what have you. I didn't find it very hard. I haven't created a guide. We don't really do guides here. If someone's created a guide, I don't know about it yet. I would link you, but I'm sure someone's working on one. Actually, no, I think PowerPix has one. Go look it up there. Call of Duty's trophies are up. They've got a big change this year. I don't know if I'm going to platinum it simply because I never know if I can be bothered actually playing these games on veteran. At the moment, I'm just happily playing through the campaign on the lowest difficulty or whatever, because just to enjoy it that way, because I don't really care. Look, it's okay sometimes to be like, I don't care for a challenge from this game. I just want to play the story and enjoy it. I'll go play multiplayer where I can get my challenge from. That's fine. But Call of Duty's trophy list is basically all of single player stuff. So there's like 2 to 3 trophies related to specific things in each level. And that is the entire trophy list. That is it. It's all single player campaign stuff. There's 1 DLC pack currently. That's 1 bronze trophy for Spec Ops related stuff, but there are no trophies related to multiplayer stuff, which is of course like a negative and a positive depending on how you want to look at it. I think it's a positive. I think it's good because then it means that we're going to get all these DLC packs coming in, and of course, like usual, Call of Duty is going to rack up all these DLC packs of trophies, and they're all going to be multiplayer related, and then we can all start working towards those. But for the people who just want to play for the single player, get the platinum easy enough. If I had to fix it, I would say do the Uncharted thing and just add in switch 2 of the trophies to like win a match, or like play 1 of each map or something, you know, like play free for all, play the gun game, play this, win a match of each or something like that. Probably would have made the trophy list a bit better. Either way, it's probably the easiest Call of Duty platinum that you could be going for in many, many years. The Outer Worlds platinum is going to be a pain in the butt as well, a little bit. So I'm not playing the Outer Worlds on PlayStation, unfortunately. I know. How can I host this show and say that? And I'm saying it in confidence of like, I'm saving money by not playing on PlayStation. I'm not going to tell you how and why. You just think about how most people are playing, and that's how most people are playing it. But to get the platinum for Outer Worlds, you do need to beat the game on supernova difficulty, which means that you will die really fucking fast and really hard. And if you don't enjoy playing these games, like I don't, on hard as difficulties, I would never probably go for the platinum for this one. It would be like anytime, if any of the Fallout games required me to play it on their ultra difficulty levels, which I know a lot of people enjoy it, and that's the way they prefer to play these sorts of games, like with more realism, and you know, you got to constantly be thinking about what you're buying and trading and bartering and all this sort of stuff. They want to play it super hardcore. Not really how I enjoy playing it, but that's kind of what you have to do for here. The rest of the trophy list doesn't look particularly hard though. It's just like story stuff, which I think some of it is missable. So it's like if there's a guide to tell you what decision to make at certain points, but then once again, following these sorts of things for these games, it's like it ruins playing them, you know, because it's like you're playing them and instead of making the story choice you want to make, you're making a different story choice to get a trophy. So I don't like when this do that. But anyone that goes for that platinum, good luck on Supernova difficulty because it's going to be quite hard. Arise, a simple story, which is out in December, has its trophy list already up, which popped quite early. It does have a platinum, so that's good. The trophy images, I gotta say straight away, I'm not a big fan of. They're like these cement blocks of shapes in them. Not a huge fan. So the first 10 trophies are all related to just beating levels, like beat level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 through 10. You get one for finishing the game. Then there's a gold for getting all the collectibles in the game. And then you bet it, there is 10 more bronzes for getting all the collectibles in level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then there's a few miscellaneous things like beat this level without dying, beat this level without doing this, perform 100 jumps on the things in level 6, blah, 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 blah. Overall, I would say this looks like a potentially rather easy platinum, and one I'd be keeping my eye on, especially because I'm already really intrigued by the Rise game. I think it looks pretty cool. I'm really excited to play that one. Talking about excited things to play, but I am kind of excited because I don't know, just depending on the price, we'll see what happens here. But Terminator Resistance, so is the not movie tie-in, but a game that's coming out to tie in with the release of the upcoming Terminator movie. Of course, it does have platinum, and the trophy list looks very easy. It's like successfully hack 10 things, successfully hack a turret, upgrade your weapon, find a note, open the unlockable door in this thing, killed an enemy by hacking a turret, killed a Terminator using only a termination knife, destroyed this thing, find 10 notes, escape from this. These bottom gold trophies all just sound like literally just beating levels. It's like escape this, escape that, destroy this, complete the game on a difficulty. I think this is going to be an easy platinum. It looks like an easy platinum to me. Don't forget it's by the same people that did that Rambo game, so quality-wise, to be determined, but it does look like a rather easy platinum. And what I'm going to keep my eye on, especially because I mentioned this before, Terminator Salvation, really easy platinum. That was my first platinum. That's what got me here. That's what got us to this show. So if I can get another Terminator platinum to continue the trophies of Terminator easy platinums, I kind of feel obligated with this one a little bit to get it. That's the episode. That's all I got. That's all I got for you this week. You can follow me on Twitter at Vivaladil, Vivaladil. Follow Ash on Twitter at Ashley Hobley, ASHLEYHOBLEY. You can follow the show on Twitter at Platt Podcast. You can help out the show by giving us a review on either Apple Podcasts or Podchaser. Alternatively, if you like the episode, can't be bugger doing any of that, just tweet at any of the above accounts and let us know how much you enjoyed the episode. You can join our Discord and chat to us about games, ask for trophy tips, send in questions for the show at explosionnetwork.com/discord. And this is, of course, a product of the Explosion Network, of which you can find many more shows, articles, news, reviews at explosionnetwork.com. You can follow the Explosion Network on Twitter at ExplosionPod. And until next week, remember that every order counts.
Shout out to Xiao Lim for Dylan shirt.